All right, today on this edition of Lover's Lane, we have, would you like to introduce yourself?
What's up? I'm Naima Garcia. You may know me as Peach Fettuccine on Instagram. Yeah, I guess, I'm out here. I'm in New York City, doing comedy here today on this show with Sweeney. Let's go.
Right. So this is my second episode, and it's my first episode doing it on. This is my first time doing it on Zoom. So this is the first for me. And is this your first? Have you ever interviewed before?
I have interviewed. Like I've been on your end of things, but I've never been interviewed. Yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoy as much as I do because I interviewing is like it's one of my passions. I'm going to have to admit. But let's jump right
Oh, yeah.
into it. So this whole show is basically just it's kind of like a counter to all of the negative like or just like kind of clout chasey relationship shows or just just trying to show the worst of the genders and or just the worst
Right.
of just like people. It's not even just about gender, just about relationships in general because I don't even like to put that divider down as far as just like humans interacting.
So true. So true.
So
Yeah,
I'm
this is positive squad over here.
yes. So now I'm going to ask you this. What is love to you?
Oh, well, love is, I think above all, it's an action. It's like, yeah, it's a feeling of like, oh, love, but it's an action because there's so many people that it's like, oh, like, they're together forever, like they're together for a really long time and they like supposedly love each other. But then you see like the way that they treat each other and it's like,
It's more
I
so
don't,
of a tolerance than a like actual like undying care kind of sort of, right?
and it's like, I feel like, it's really just like the way that you treat people.
And it's more than just the romantic stuff, right? It's just love. It's all
Absolutely.
encompassing, right?
Yeah, because I feel like respect is a huge part of it that gets so like tossed out the window. It's like I feel like, in order for you to really, really love someone, like you have to respect them. Like that should be a given.
Absolutely. And it's just bewildering when you kind of see contradicting like behavior when people say I love you, but then they're doing like all this disrespectful stuff.
Yeah, facts.
So what do you think that love has a place in the workplace as far as everything we just
Oh,
said?
you mean, oh, my work wife, my work husband.
No, no, I'm
Uh,
talking about what no, no, I mean we could get into that, but I mean just in general, just like having a kind of like a love for your coworker, just like looking out for them or your boss
Yeah.
understanding.
No, honestly, yeah, I do. Because, like if you're working with someone, you have to see them like probably every day, if not like most days. And it depends on the job you're doing, right? Like if you're on a team, you know, you have to like, and a lot of times like you'll develop like a friendship, like a camaraderie with these people just because you're, in this bubble a lot. So, you develop these relationships. And I think, a good work environment, a positive work environment, there's definitely love there for sure. And yeah, just love for your fellow man, your fellow worker.
Yes, yeah, and it's because I'm just now starting to work again, and I noticed I quit a job before that, and I did not feel like the love was there. And this dude job I'm in right now, completely opposite. Like you could just tell when someone cares about you beyond just making sure you're doing what you're supposed to do, so they can be able to do what
Facts.
they could do.
Facts.
So now I wanted to jump into another question I had for you. and this is kind of so. What red flags do you feel like are overrated? Just
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't, okay, this might be a little controversial. I don't know if this is going to be a popular opinion, but like I feel like the whole like thing of like, oh, they can't talk to any of their exes or like, just like, oh, talking about their ex too much or this. Well, talking about your ex too much, that can be a red flag. But I feel like if someone has like exes like in their lives, like just as like, like friends or something, like I don't necessarily think that that's a red flag. Um, Obviously depends on the relationship, right? Because there's people who it's like, oh yeah, like that's my ex, but like we're like best friends, and then it's like, I don't know, there seems to be an emotional enmeshment going on there. But a lot of people can be adults about shit and just like be like, yeah, like that's my ex. And obviously we're not as close as we used to be, but we're still cool. Like, I think that's a good thing,
and this is not
actually.
even including children, right? Like
Oh,
having
yeah, I
kids,
didn't
not
even
even
think
including
about
that.
that. Yeah, like, if you have kids, like, I would expect you to have a relationship, hopefully a positive relationship with your co-parent, whether you're together or not. I feel like people are mad territorial. Like, the fucking, the past few years, this trend of like not wanting your significant other to be friends with people of the opposite gender, I think is a little weird. Um, 'Cause yeah, like, I have friends that are women, non-binary. I have male friends. Like, it's like, me, for example, like being in comedy, like in the comedy scene, sometimes it's a sausage fest, like I'm going to have to deal with men, whether that's in a good way, and we foster like a professional and like relationship and like friendship, like that's cool. Or sometimes it's in a bad way and they're creeps. But overall, like I'm gonna have to deal with men and I'm gonna make friends with some of these men. So I feel like if I had a partner that was like insecure about that, I'd be like, bro, come on.
Yeah, I
Like be real?
yeah. If you got anyone, if you have anyone has a partner in entertainment, they got to get over that fast, real fast. Insecurity ain't for the people. If you're insecure, you should not. You gotta really think twice about being with someone who plans on making a career in entertainment, or just even does
Exactly.
it, even just wants to do it at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So the reverse, sort of. What are some green flags that are underrated?
Um, Green flags, underrated green flags. I don't know that this is underrated, but just like I don't know, like having just like being empathetic, but like in like small ways, like where it's like you could tell that it comes naturally to them. Where it's like if you are like, like crossing the street and like you see someone fall and then like your person is like they have like an instinct to be like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" to that person. I think having like good instincts is like an underrated quality. I think that's like really good. Empathy, curiosity. Oh my God, because people don't really like a lot of people just like will not ask questions. And I think that's so weird. Like I'll be having like I'll be talking to someone and like let's say, I'm having a bad day, right? I'm like, ugh, like I'm just having kind of a weird day. I'm having kind of a bad day. And then if they just go like, "Oh, like that sucks." I'm like, "Oh, you're not gonna ask? You're not curious? You don't want to know?" Like, I don't know. I think it's important to be curious um when you're like trying to get to know someone. Ask some questions. I don't know.
Right. Well, speaking of curiosity and inquisitiveness, on the other side, how much of your life or your relationship do you feel like you're willing to like share on stage for like the sake of a joke? Like, how far are you willing to go for that?
Oh my gosh. That's a good question because typically on stage, like a lot of my jokes are just shit that I make up. I'm like I have this one joke about like chili, right? And like the butt of the joke is that like, oh, the chili I made sucks. But actually that's not true. It was actually really fucking good. But it only works if like the chili is bad in the joke. So yeah, I don't really draw from my real life that much, which is weird because I feel like I have a lot to draw from. And I am now trying to incorporate more real life stuff into my material. But there is this like vulnerability that like it's like another layer of vulnerable when you're telling jokes about your real life. Because I could tell a joke about like some shit that I just made up. And then if it bombs, it's like, oh, that sucks. But, whatever, right? But if I tell a joke or a story about like my real life and it doesn't go over well, then it's like, oh God, like, what do these people think of me now? Like,
They'll probably think the same thing as the other. They'll probably just, it's like I want to say it's 50-50, but there's probably a chance they're just going to think it's made up or something,
that's
you
true.
know?
That's true. Yeah.
If any, it could be, it's funny because it could be where you could tell the chili story and they'll really think your chili sucks. And you could tell the real life stories, uh, and they'll think that that's fake. Like you never know. That's because when whatever's told on the stage, it's the stage.
Yeah. Up to interpretation, I guess.
And then you could always hyperbolize.
Yeah. No, that's super important. That is super important. Hyperbolizing. You know what's funny though? One time I did tell a joke that was a real story. Um the person featured in the story, he didn't know I was going to do that joke, and we weren't on speaking terms, but I did it anyway. And afterwards, I felt really good about it. Because to me, that was like my little revenge, you know? I'm like, you did me wrong. Great. I'm gonna go to this open mic that I know you're gonna be at, and you're gonna listen to this joke, and you're gonna listen to these people fucking laugh. And it's like, even though I didn't call him out by name. So like most of the audience, like they don't know who this person I'm talking about is, but my friends do that are in the audience, and he knew, and his friends knew. So it was kind of just like it's like a weird, like subtle little revenge that I had, and that was interesting.
So I know, just for everyone to know, I did my first stand up. I think it was like last month, and a very strong part, and thanks to Naima because gave me a lot of encouragement. Naima gave me a lot of encouragement, and it made me feel less like worried about it. Part of that, it felt like free therapy just being up there because I told everything I told up there was almost like real rap, almost everything,
Right.
and it was like free therapy. when I went up there, it's like I don't even care if the people laugh. I just want to be able to tell people something and just free some space in my hard drive, aka my mind, my subconscious, but also hopefully just get some laughs out of it and feel like I can make people laugh. So
Totally. No, literally stand up can be so fucking therapeutic for real. And that's like what I always tell people too is like I'm like, listen, like even if you don't think you're funny, like I'm like just go up and complain about your job. Because I guarantee you, so either A, somebody's gonna laugh or someone's gonna relate. And even if no one laughs, even if no one relates, you'll probably feel like a little bit better. And if you don't, even if you don't feel better, even if nobody laughs, then at least you can say you tried it, you know?
being on the other side of trying something is just like one of the greatest feelings, whether you fail or not.
Exactly, exactly. Because it's like, wow, like, especially if it's something you've been wanting to try or been curious about. And then when you get on the other side, you're like, oh, wait, like, I just did that shit. That's
No one could
awesome.
say I didn't. It's etched in eternity that I've done it. In my even if it's not
Exactly.
recorded, I know I did it. It's encoded in my DNA now that I've done it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that deep, but you know,
But yeah, no, that's so real. Like, someone on, I think it was like Threads, there's this one comedian who was saying how, like, stand up kind of feels like an insane asylum sometimes. But then it's like, when you think about it, like the word for asylum means like to seek refuge. And like that is kind of like, and he was saying like that's like what we are all doing, kind of, is like seeking refuge in
yeah.
the form
Ronald
of like
Reagan
telling jokes.
took away all the insane asylums, so we had to make our own.
Period. Yeah. We gotta make our own. Like that's kind of like I don't know. I feel like that's like what art is that could be like what being in like an artistic community is like just like finding refuge. It's like yeah, there's like a lot of competition and ego and bullshit, but there's also like a lot of like like mutual like love and like promotion and stuff, and that's cool.
And I try not to even look at things as competition when art because then when you do that, then you start thinking about, oh, how am I going to make money? How am I going to get exposure? I just, when I'm making art, I just want to make sure that I am doing something that I feel like matters for me at the very least. And then, and then secondly, making something that I could feel like I'm elevating or like just, doing something that actually is maybe, it doesn't always have to be different, but just something that people could enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. And it's like it's funny because like a lot of artists like they're like, oh, I make this like for me. And then if other people resonate, like that's cool too. Like a lot of artists have that perspective. And I kind of feel that way about my stand-up because I'm pretty stubborn. Like, even if I kind of, and this is not necessarily a good thing, but like sometimes, like, even if I can kind of tell that, like, maybe this joke isn't gonna fly over that well in this room, I'm I'm still gonna do it sometimes because I'm like, I like this joke. I feel good telling it, and I think it's funny, so I'm gonna tell it. So, and I just did that last night, dude. I went to this open mic. I bombed so hard, like so hard. But I told this one joke that I'd been working on, and I really like it. I think it's funny. I think it's like kind of like absurdist, surreal, like doesn't really make a lot of sense as far as like it's not really tied to reality. But I tried it out, and it was my first time trying it out, and it did not go over well. I think they thought I was an insane person. But I was like, well, you know what? Like, at least I fucking tried it, I guess.
You wouldn't like you wouldn't have to be stuck. Oh dang, I wonder if that would have went this way or that way. It just like, oh well, I went that way. At least I found out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
we're gonna get even more lighthearted. And now, speaking on not touching on reality, we're gonna leave reality for a minute. I want
Cool.
to find out, what do you think the best movie slash film romance of all time is?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. Okay. I There's this one. Have you seen I think it's The Handmaiden, or maybe it's Handmaiden.
The Korean slash Japanese one?
Yes, yes.
I think you're the one who told me to watch that movie.
Oh shit, awesome. I probably did. I fucking love that movie, dude. And it's a beautiful love story. Um, but I think it's a beautiful love story because it has like all these elements of like, it's like set in like the 1800s, and like they have all these like obstacles to fucking go through, and like there's so much like adventure in it too, and I feel like adventure and conflict like strengthens a romance and a relationship. And I think The Handmaiden is just one of those movies where it literally has it all. It has like romance, it has betrayal, it has fucking like high stakes, you know? Like I think that that's like one of my favorite romance movies. Um,
So the couple, but the couple in the movie though, that was like that's your favorite couple.
I don't know if it's my favorite couple, but that's just one of my favorite like love stories, I guess, romance movies. But there's also this other movie. It's so cute. It's called Wrist Cutters, and I know,
Is that the
bit
one
of
where they
a
commit suicide and they're in the afterlife, like trying to look? You told me to watch that one as well. I remember now. I
wow.
watched
Yeah.
that one. Yeah, it's like really indie, and it's
Yeah.
almost like a better. It's like a Beetlejuice if it was good. Like
Yo,
Beetlejuice,
Beetlejuice if it was
Beetlejuice
good.
2 if it was good. The first one's cool, but like
Yeah, the first one's all right,
uh,
right? But I didn't watch the second one. But I heard it was it's bad. Oh shit. But no, I love Wrist Cutters. I think it's such a cute story and I feel like it can also be applied like to real life now because it's like even though like, right, like these people like they tried to kill themselves and they were total strangers in the real world, but then they just meet in the afterlife. But the main character, he's like in the afterlife trying to find his ex because he found out that his ex like also killed herself. So she's in the same like afterlife. So he's like chasing after her, but he's also going on this like really fun, like interesting, cool, like road trip kind of thing with like this girl and like this other guy that he became friends with. And it's like the whole time, like all he can see, he's like so like tunnel visioned on his ex that it's like he kind of forgets to like appreciate these moments that the audience can appreciate while we're watching the movie, where it's like, oh man, it's like these three like ragtag group of like misfits just like riding around this like weird like purgatory like environment. And you know, you're so like he's so fixated on his ex that like he can't see that like girl he's riding with is like mad cool. And like, it's like one of those movies where it's like, oh, I didn't realize that like what I wanted was right in front of me all along. Like
yeah.
and it's really cute. It's just like a really cute story. And it's hilarious too. It's a really good movie. So
I'm
I
gonna
like
have to run
that,
it back.
yeah.
All right. So then, how about TV? Favorite TV romance?
Ooh, oh my gosh. There's so many. There's lots that I could pull from. Let me think. The one that comes to my mind right now isn't even a good example because it's so toxic. Like they're so toxic.
It's okay if they're
But
toxic. It's got to be your. You'll have your reasons for your favorite.
okay, true. Well, right now, my favorite might be Louis and Lestat from Interview with a Vampire. Have you seen that?
Is which channel is that on?
It's like AMC Plus or something, but I think they have like the first season out on Netflix.
I haven't. No, I didn't even realize that that was. I knew it was a show, but I didn't know like it was. It's like all the way out now, or I don't know.
Yeah, it's out. It's out and it's really, really good. Like,
So what's the dynamics of their relationship?
well, basically, like, okay, you got Louis, main character, and then you got Lestat, and he's like a vampire. And they meet in like New Orleans in like the 40s, and like Louis is, or not the 40s, like the early 1900s, and like Louis is a human, and like Lestat is a vampire. And then they kind of like fall in love, and then Lestat turns him into a vampire. But their relationship becomes super toxic because Louis like develops this like moral dilemma because he's like, "Oh my God, I'm a vampire. I have to kill people." And then Lestat is like, "Yeah, duh." And so it's really interesting because like even though they're vampires, it's like this feels like such a real relationship problem where it's like one person is like, "Come into my world, like you're gonna love it, like da 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 da," and the other person is like, "Yes, okay, let's go." And then they get into that world and then they're like, "Oh, I actually don't like it here." And then the other person is like, "You knew what you were signing up for." And like, so it's like, I don't know, it gets really toxic. But it's like they're vampires. You know? It's so funny, like hearing people on Twitter be like, "Oh my God, like anyone romanticizing Louis and Lestat, like that's so problematic. They literally, like, Lestat is literally abusive. Da, da, da." I'm like, yeah, he's a vampire. I'm like, they're like they kill people. I'm sorry, like what? Like people on Twitter really try to have discourse about this shit, and it's like, bro, they are literally monsters that feast on human flesh. Like, I don't know if we can apply like human fucking morals to
The
them. Like,
modern social media will moralize anything. Like
yeah.
they'll moralize a peanut butter and jelly sandwich somehow. Which is okay. I mean, it's cool though, because it's cool to have thought experiments and like
Yeah, yeah. I think it's good to have like standards for sure.
and speaking of thought experiments, I have one for you now, and this one's gonna be a little extensive, but
Okay.
just work with me here. So, and I tried this with my cousin earlier, and this was like because we were just talking about we were talking about relationships. So I just came up with
Hmm.
this out of nowhere. So here we go. So say looks wise, your partner is just ideal. You nothing in that department's bothering you. Looks
Yeah.
and everything is cool, but their main issue is they're always complaining about something. They're like, "Oh, why are you going to buy this new TV or what?" And they just keep hinting at it without actually asking for it. But then you could tell by the way they're hinting at it, they want you to get it. Or,
Right.
why haven't we gone out? This and like, what do you do in that situation? Do you endure knowing that they're going to continue being like this? Or do you try to find your way out?
That's a good question. It's funny that you said complaining because I myself, I know that when I'm comfortable with someone, I can be such a complainer. I can be such a like, ugh, like I'm so bored, or like, ugh, this thing that happened sucked, or like, oh, I don't like how this is, da 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 da. Like, I know I can be such a complainer, so I try to keep it in check. And then I've been with people who will just be like negative constantly, and it's like that shit is so draining. It is so fucking draining. But I think if you really care about someone, if you're really in love, if you really like see a future with this person, I think you kind of have to be like, all right, listen, you've been really negative lately. You know, like well, that's like not a good way to start, but like, I feel like it's up to you to kind of like bring it to their attention, you know, and be like, hey, like, what's going on? Because, like, maybe they aren't, like, maybe they're depressed and stuff. And, like, I think if I was, like, really locked in with the person, I would try to, like, bring it to their attention and, like, see if A, if they take the information well, because there's a lot of people who just get like defensive out of nowhere, and that's not good. So see how they take it, and then see if like it resonates with them and they're able to like make a change, you know? But that whole thing of like when people are like, you can tell that they want to ask you for something, but they're not. Oh my God, that's like, I've been that person before. But I've also been on the other side where I'm just like, okay, I know you want something. I'm not gonna fucking give it to you until you tell me, you know? So I think it's really important, like, to be straight up. I think ever since my brain like developed, since like I'm 25 now, like I feel like it's easier to be straight up because it's a thing of it's like, oh, like, there's the anxiety of like, oh, what if you face like any potential rejection or anything? But more than that, it's like you're just wasting your time if you're not like straight up. And you can be straight up while being kind and empathetic and reasonable. Being reasonable, that's huge. Um, but yeah, I think if you really care about the person, I think you should like try to sit down with them and like bring these negative attributes to their attention and see how they react. And then if they just keep on with the same shit and it's just draining, then it's like, yeah, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah. All right. All right. So now let's move on to a person, same situation. As far as like
Mhm.
looks wise, they're cool. They're your dream person. But this time they're not complainers. This time they're just lazy. They're in the house all day. They're not going out. They're not cleaning up. Sometimes they smell like they're not washing up, so they're stinking sometimes. And they're just overall lazy. They're not really like trying to do nothing. Now what do you do? You do you
Yeah.
try to do you try to transform that, or is that you're getting out of there ASAP?
Oh my gosh. Wow, I'm getting flashbacks.
Sorry.
Flashbacks to my exes and also myself at times. Oh no. Yeah, that's a good question. I think, oh my gosh. I think that depends where you're at in life and how serious you are with this person. Because I've had a problem that I've had in relationships is like I will just like stick it out because I'm like, no, like I love them, like we're good, like, and it's like if you are under 25 and you are miserable and you are like in a long-term relationship and this person like won't even take you out, get out of there. Like I want to grab the screen and shake it like get out. Get the fuck out. But if this isn't like if you're in it for the long haul with someone, right? And you guys have years together and they're good years and they're on, they're like a normal, reasonable person, like they get what they need to done, and everything's good. But then they start just getting really lazy or like, cold or whatever. I think then you have to like confront it and be like, "Hey, like what's going on with you?" Like I've noticed this like change in behavior. And I think that, yeah, you need to like bring that to your partner's attention and see what happens. Because if someone is like starting out in a relationship and like and you're together for a couple years and they're like normal, good, whatever, and then they just like switch like that, it's like something's definitely going on. Either they're like depressed, they're having issues, or maybe they're just like complacent and like falling out of love with you, but they're like so in the routine and in the relationship that they don't know how to get out. That could be the issue. But I think regardless, you just have to confront it and see what happens. And then, if they like recognize that and they do better, that's great. But if they don't, if they get defensive, if they like don't want to change, then yeah, get the fuck out. Because most of the time, not most of the time, every time you are going to be so much happier on your own than you are with someone who is just like draining you and like not doing anything for themselves. I'd rather be single like forever than be with someone who literally is just like draining me.
Yeah. Okay, that was great. Now, all right, dream person. Look, all of that, they're cool. They're not annoying. They're not lazy, but they love to go out with their friends and all the time.
Hmm.
And maybe one of them is their ex, or maybe one of them does kind of make you jealous, but they're like very friendly with like, you know what I mean? They're very friendly. You spoke on this earlier though, so I feel like this probably might not even be that much of an issue for you, but like, you basically I'm saying they're like a
Yeah.
free spirit. They're going out a lot and they're always going out with their friends and stuff. And they might not necessarily invite you all the time. They might go out
Yeah.
and they might not tell you when they're going out and they might not tell you when they're coming back. How do you do with that?
Yeah. So, okay. I think because I personally I struggle with FOMO. So I know for myself, like, even if it's like not a relationship, like, even if it's my friend, like, if my friends are going out and like I'm not invited, the reasonable part of my mind is like, okay, like, it's fine. They're going out, whatever. They're entitled to have these plans. But there's always a part of me that's like, damn, like, you're not gonna invite me? Da 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 da. But it's a matter of, I think, just like being able to balance those two parts. I think for me, the issue is like if I'm dating someone and they go out all the time, it's not like if they go out all the time. I think I would have a bigger issue if, like, let's say, like, we had plans and then they bailed on those plans to hang out with their friends. Like, that to me would be an issue.
Oh yeah.
Because I'd be like that just feels like fucked up, you know? That's like if you had already planned for something, you stick to it. You don't like bail Like that's like a pet peeve of mine is like people who will just bail. I'm like, bro, I'm like a manager. I'm like, unless you're sick, like you better fucking show up. Like, dude. Yeah, I think that that would be my issue. Would be like if they're like going out to the point where it's like they're bailing on me to go out. Like I'd have a problem with that. Jealousy, I can get jealous, but I feel like I can deal with it. And especially like if you bring it up to your partner and be like, "Hey, like, I've been having these feelings, like, can I just get like some reassurance or something?" And if they're like a good person, they'll reassure you. They'll take steps to be like, okay, like clearly I think we need to spend more time together or like whatever, right? Because I think that like it's less when it comes to jealousy, I think it's less about thoughts and more about actions that really matters. Because I could be jealous all the live long day and just be going about my day like a normal person, right? And just dealing with the emotions. But if I'm jealous and I'm doing shit that's fucked up, like just being like petty for no reason or like doing things to kind of like get back at the other person or like following them, like I don't know, like that I think is when jealousy becomes a problem. When it like bleeds into your actions. So I think it's like a thing of like you kind of have to just like nip it in the bud and be like, "Hey, listen." And no one wants to admit that because it's like admitting that you're insecure like can be such a like it's like so vulnerable and it can like turn the other person off. But I think if the other person is like a good person and like they care about you, then they care about your feelings and they want you to feel secure. So they'll help like, they'll help you like deal with those like feelings of jealousy. Um, so yeah, I guess like that's how I feel about it. Like I do want to know like when they're coming home though. Like even if it's just a text like, "Hey, I'm on my way home." Like, I feel like that's normal. Like even with my girlfriends, I'm like, "Yo, like text me when you get home." Like, and that's just like a safety thing too.
Oh yeah. All right. So now I'm gonna tie it all up. So now, of all those three archetypes I brought up,
Hmm.
the annoying person, the lazy person, or the always going out person not necessarily telling you, who would you prefer to have?
Who would I prefer? Who would I prefer? Hmm. You know, whoa, I just had a crazy deja vu moment. Bro, I remember one time we were talking to Ellie about something, and I told her, I was like, "Oh, I had a dream the other day that I was on like a podcast with Sweeney."
You're not
Bro.
being serious, are you?
No, I'm being dead serious.
Wow.
I'm being dead serious.
Okay.
Wow, that's trippy. And then I feel like I like talk to you later on and you're like, "Oh, I do like I have a YouTube channel or something, or I'd have a podcast or something." I don't know, but that was trippy. Anyways, who would I rather be with? I think now at this point in my life, I'd rather be with the person who's going out a lot. Because I'm not gonna lie, I have a busy life too. I also go out a lot. I'm going to mics, like I'm doing comedy, all this stuff. And to me, if you're someone who like goes out a lot, like you're probably fun to be around. Like you have friends, like you might know like the good spots to hang out at. Like you're probably a lot of fun. And yeah, I think like at this stage in my life, like I'd pick that person for sure.
All right. All right.
have a good time, not be like in the house, like,
or be
"Eh,
annoyed.
like shut up. Like I've dealt with that. Like I've dealt with the complainer. I've dealt with the lazy motherfucker. Like bring me the like, bro, bring me the motherfucker who's gonna take me to VIP and all his friends. Let's go.
And they might leave off without you for a few seconds, but you'll be okay with that, right?
Exactly, because I can be a social butterfly too, you know? So I feel like as long as there's that like level of like communication where it's like, if they're like, oh, hey, like, I think this group, like, I'm gonna go with this group to this spot. Do you want to come? And it's like, if I don't want to come, like, I don't have to. I could be like, okay, like, thanks for letting me know, you know? But just don't just like dip out. Like, that's crazy. But, but yeah, let's party. Fuck it.
All right. So, social media. It's not
Mm,
going anywhere. It's part of our life, part of
true.
society, part of work. It's not going anywhere anytime soon unless some EMP blows up and we go back to like Fallout or some shit.
Bro, for real.
So, what do you like? What is the how like how important is it for you for like you to be involved in like the social media of your partner, like, or just to be on it, or to know about it, or to like be mentioned, any aspect of social media and relationships?
That's a good question. I think I think it depends, right? Like I don't want to be like all up on my partner's social media, like posting me constantly and like same like I don't want to be that girl who's like constantly posting like their significant other. Not that there's Listen, not that there's anything wrong with that, but the way that I view like my social media is like, listen, this is my Instagram. I'm gonna post me, what I like, what I'm doing. Like I can't like it kind of annoys me when like someone gets in a relationship, especially when it's a woman. When a woman gets in a relationship and suddenly it's like everything that she posts is like her man, her man, her man. I'm like, girl, I miss when you were posting memes and like thirst traps. Like, what happened? So yeah, I don't like to be super coupley, lovey-dovey on social media, but I think like posting pics and stuff, like cute pics, like I think that's cute. Like,
Do you think it's important
and
that they signal that, hey, I'm not single? Is it that
yeah,
important? Okay.
I do. And funny enough, I was in a relationship with a guy who, because I used to think like, oh, I don't really care about being posted, like whatever. But then I started dating this guy a little while ago, and he never posted me once.
Mm.
Like, not even on Valentine's Day. I know.
And then you
And
found out you had the feelings. You were like, wait, this does matter to me.
yeah. And then I was like, oh, wait, maybe I do kind of care a little bit. I was like, this kind of feels shitty. Cause I'm like, bro, like, not even Valentine's Day? Like, that's so weird. Like, that's sad. Like, that's sus. Like, that's sad. Like, and like, I'm like, damn, I look so cute. Like, I'm spending Valentine's Day with you, like, and then you're not even gonna post me. Like, he never posted me. And then that's when I realized, like, okay, I think, 'cause it's not even about, like, to me, it's just like, if I'm with someone and I'm like, oh my God, like, if I, like, love them so much and I think that, like, oh, they look so cute in this picture, I'm gonna post it. Like even if it's like a friend, like if I'm like out with my friends and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like you look so cute. Like I'm gonna post this." I'm gonna post it because it's less about like, to me it's just like it's like goes back to instincts. Like having that instinct of like, "Oh my gosh, this person means a lot to me." and they look so cute, I'm gonna share it on my social media. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's just like it's like a loving like gesture. And I think that's really important in relationships. It's like loving gestures that just come like instinctively.
Yes. Dang, I had a question and it slipped my mind. What what about how do you feel about road trips?
Oh my gosh, I love road trips, dude. I love road trips, but it's easy for me to say that because I'm a passenger princess. I don't drive.
So what if you got to drive though?
Um, if that is the requirement that I have to drive,
At least half. At least
I
half.
won't be. I literally, it's bad. I don't have my driver's license.
Oh,
I know.
oh my.
I know. So that's the thing. I love road trips, but am I the ideal road trip companion? Not really. I can't really take the load off you, you know? I can't drive the rest of the way. So I know that about myself. But if it's like, we're driving like a few hours, and if the other person is cool with like a short drive, I love it. I love a good road trip. I've I've been like trucking before. So that's like a really long road trip.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what why is my brain doing this to me right now? What okay, this is what I was gonna ask. How important is it that your friends or your partner or anybody is supportive of your comedy or just anything that you're doing? Like, you're, how important is that? Or is
I
it
think
something you
it's
could soldier?
yeah, no, I think it's super important. I think it's super important because you don't want to be with someone who like doesn't, you know, doesn't value your own ambitions. Like you don't want to be with someone who isn't excited about you following your dreams, you know? And it's like, you don't have to think all my jokes are funny. You don't have to think that I kill it every time. But it can be discouraging to be with someone who is either apathetic about it or dismissive. I think being dismissive like kills love, bro. Because if I'm like excited about something, and then I tell my partner, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm so excited, I'm doing this thing. And I get like a lukewarm response or like oh, yeah, I guess that's cool. It's like, damn, that's heartbreaking. Because why aren't you excited for me?
Yeah, they're supposed
You
to be your
know?
refuge.
Exactly. And like I've been with people before where like when I first started doing comedy, I was dating this guy. And I would sometimes like run my jokes by him, and he would have like no reaction or just like be like, I don't know. I don't know about that one. But like ultimately though, I think it's because we had really different, really different tastes as far as humor goes. Like, I try to show him. Have you ever seen I Think You Should Leave, the show?
I don't think so.
Oh my God, it's hilarious. You should watch it. It's like a sketch comedy show.
YouTube?
Netflix.
Netflix? Okay, I'll check it out.
But I showed him that because I'm like, this is one of my favorite shows. It's hilarious. And he just sat there like this the whole time. He didn't laugh once. And I'm sitting next to him. Mind you, I've probably seen the episode like 3 times already, and I'm losing my shit. I'm like, this is so funny. And he is like waiting for it to be over.
Hmm.
So I think that that could have been part of it. It's like, we just had way different tastes in comedy. And he would show me things that he thought was funny that I was like, this is so like lame.
Example. Example.
So like, okay, at this open mic that I used to go to in Florida, there'd be this one comedian who was like this older guy. I think he had like Parkinson's or something. He was like an old white guy who always kind of looked disheveled, and he had Parkinson's. And he would go on stage and tell like really offensive jokes.
Hint? Could you hint towards something he was talking
Like
about?
racist, um, or like misogynistic, like boomer shit. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
like just playing off of like stereotypes. And I didn't think it was funny because I was like, man, like this boomer shit is so old, you know? It's like, oh, like fucking racist stereotype number one, sexist stereotype number two. Oh, I hate my wife. I'm like, that's so fucking lame and boring, you know? But the guy I was dating at the time, he thought that guy was hilarious. And so I would like question him. I'd be like, okay, like why, like, oh, like you thought that was funny? Like when he would do like a racist joke, I'd be like, you thought that was funny? And he's like, no, it's just like, like the way he says it or something or his delivery. And I'm like, I don't get it. Like this is just a guy who like has a disability and is saying like weird shit. And he thought it was hilarious, and I just thought it was like mid. And so yeah, we had very different tastes in comedy. And I can't be with someone who had like either has no sense of humor or like we have wildly different comedic tastes. I just can't do it. Because like, I do like I'm a comedian. Like if you don't find at least some of my jokes funny, then I don't think I could be with you. Like, 'cause then it's like, damn, like I feel like I would always be wanting to make that person laugh. Well, instead of just got swallowed up by the Bob. Um, I feel like there would be a part of me that'd be always wanting to make them laugh and like impress them and stuff. And like, fuck that. I don't want to have to like deal with that mental anguish, I guess.
All right. So if people wanted to see you right now, because I know you've been hitting the circuit hard. Where would they, what specific clubs would they have to
Oh
go to?
man. Well, right now I'm just doing a lot of open mics. I do have a show on Tuesday. I'm gonna be in a show.
Tuesday, what's your date?
um,
Because I don't, this might get
Oh, that's
released.
right.
Yeah.
Tuesday, November. Let's see. Let's look at the calendar. November 19th.
Mhm.
I don't know if this will be out at that time, but I'm gonna be in a show at Broadway Comedy Club in New York City.
That's a place is that a place you could like frequent?
I've been there once.
Okay. Which
So,
which place have you been to the most?
I guess I've been going to Black Cat in LES a lot. That's a
Mhm.
cool. I think you'd like that mic a lot, honestly. If you ever come out to New York, we should definitely hit that spot. That's a good spot for anyone who wants to try comedy, really. The host, Sonia, she's great. She's hilarious.
All these clubs are in Brooklyn, right?
So this is in the Lower East Side of Manhattan,
Ah.
actually. I've been hitting Manhattan a lot because I work there now.
Mm.
So I've been doing a lot of Manhattan mics. That's good. Shit. in Brooklyn, Pine Box. I'm there sometimes. I don't know, it's hard now because now that I have two jobs, I have to like work around my schedule. But if you're ever at Black Cat in the Lower East Side at around 9 p.m. on like a Saturday, there's a really good chance that I will be doing a tight five over there. So
Is there
then
anything?
we could get a drink at Joey Rose's right next door. That
Mm,
bar's the shit.
is there anything else you want to talk about or anything you want to promote or anything before we wrap up this episode? It's on you. There's no pressure.
Oh, I guess okay, let me promote Lot 45. Some of my friends run an open mic in Bushwick at Lot 45. It's called Open Mic Surgery. Um, you can win a chance to get a guest spot on their show because they do a show there. Also, on Instagram, they're Laugh a Lot Comedy. Yeah, it sucks. I don't have any clips or anything, or I would promote my Instagram, but you could go on my Instagram if you want to see memes. I have a meme page.
Want me to? I could put that handle down on there if you
You could
want
put
to.
that
I'll
too
put
at
both. I'll put
yeah,
formerly chill and then your. I could do that for you.
cool.
Um,
So I guess that's really it. I don't know. Hit me up.
well, yeah.
New York, see comedy, have a good time.
Thank you very much for your time.
Hell
Uh,
yeah, thank you. This was fun.
this was, I feel like it was enlightening for me, and hopefully it was enlightening. Even though you're the one answering, but sometimes even just talking and hearing yourself talk, sometimes you learn about
No,
yourself just from hearing
literally,
yourself
it's
talk.
good. It's good to hear what I actually have to say out loud. Because then I'm like, oh, okay. It's like, it's like, oh, these are my thought processes. And it's been fun like bouncing it off of you. I think this was good.
Perfect. Well, this was the second official episode of Lover's Lane here with Naima Garcia, and I'm Sween, and hopefully we all get to see each other for another time.
Hell
Goodbye.
yeah.